Today we're going to be transforming this area above our net house into a raised bed garden, which we are really excited about. And we're going to be sharing why we've decided to trial raised beds this year as well. So we've got 4 raised beds here from Vegega, which are made from stainless steel with an anti-rust food grade paint. So it means they should last a lot longer than your traditional style wooden raised beds, which is exactly why we chose this type of raised bed. And we are also hoping that being metal, they will be less attractive to slugs and snails as well. Okay, so it says keep the holes aligned between the panels. Put the screws through the hole. Place the washer inside and the nut. Use the wrench to tighten up. So the size of this area here is approximately 26 by 19 foot. And that's probably not that dissimilar to what the average size garden is these days. The beds that we chose are 17 inches high, and we have set them up so they are 6.5 by 3.5 foot, so that this lines up nicely with the width of our net house. But you can actually set these exact beds up in 9 different formations, and you can find out more about these raised beds by clicking the link in the video description just down below. Now for the fun part, we're gonna re-landscape this area, make it look beautiful, get these raised beds filled up, and we're gonna share more about our plans for what we're gonna be growing in them this year. So we've had this black plastic down for about 3 years as we had a heap of bracken on this land that was really hard to control, but hopefully it's been long enough to kill it all off completely now, and the black plastic is coming up, which is always a joyous day. Oh, it's a big toad.
So what we're doing now, just to make them look fairly even as possible, we've taken a string line to follow the line of our 3 polytunnels. So that gives us our front edge. Along the back here, for the sides, we're following up the 2 sides of the net house. So we've got 2 strings here. And then we've got an even space between here and here. But because we're on a slope and the soil is all over the place, you can see, for example, maybe this one, it's bowing a bit. We're just going to start putting a little bit of topsoil into the raised beds, and then just roughly with this bit of straight timber here, get a rough level just to make them look as even as possible.
So we're filling these beds with a 50-50 mix of topsoil and compost at the moment, and then we're going to be adding another layer of just municipal waste compost to fill them almost to the top. And then finally I will put just a thin layer of our own homemade compost on for an extra nutrient boost and goodness to feed the soil. We worked until dark last night getting the last of the bags of wood chip and soil mix emptied out so that Dan could go back to the waste site again today, because as always with jobs like this, it has taken a lot more soil to fill these beds than we had hoped. But he should be back really soon, and we're hoping to get this finished this morning. And if you are planning a project like this or similar yourself, then we would always recommend sourcing your soil or compost from green waste sites whenever possible, because it will be so much more cost effective than buying bags in from hardware stores or garden centres. And Dan is back now with the next run of materials, so we are back on it. So this is a thin layer of our homemade compost that I'm adding now. And Dan made a really good point earlier, and that was that our homemade compost is probably more likely to have weeds in it than the municipal waste compost that we get. So we're actually adding our homemade compost as the next layer to give that really good extra boost of nutrients. And then we're going to put some municipal waste compost on top, because that will help suppress any weeds that are in this stuff. So why have we decided to try raised beds this year? There are a few reasons for this. Firstly, we understand that not everybody has as much space to grow food as we do here. So we would like to share ideas of how much can be grown in a small space and the crops we would choose and why. Secondly, we're going to be running some trials this year. And for one, carrot rust or carrot root fly is becoming a particular problem for us here, not only with our carrots, but also with our parsnips. This particular insect is only very low flying, and it lays its eggs on your root crops. So we are really interested to see if by lifting these particular crops off the ground, we can reduce the damage. And thirdly, as many of you will know, we had a big issue with rats here last year, and they completely destroyed over 2/3 of our sweet potato harvest last season. Whilst we are still going to be planting sweet potatoes in the ground, trialling a companion planting method that we noticed last year, which you can see more about in this video here, we are also going to safeguard our crop by planting some of them in our raised beds as well. And we'll be sharing more about the method that we're going to be using for this in another video coming soon in our raised bed series. And that is our raised bed garden complete, and we are really happy with how it has turned out. Over the next couple of weeks, we will just add a little bit more compost to the top of these beds before we start planting, but we're just going to let everything settle down first of all to see how much more they need. We are really impressed with these new raised beds that we got from Vegega. They were super easy to build, and they are really nice and sturdy, and we believe that they will last us a really long time. And if you'd like to find out more about these awesome raised beds, then click the link for their website, which is just down below in the video description, and there is lots of information all about them there. We hope you've enjoyed this video today, guys. If you have, please give it a thumbs up. This really helps us to grow our channel, and we look forward to seeing you here again soon. Peace and plants.